Hello guys, my name is Glurmit and today I'm going to be covering what I think is the best farming plan for Galaxy of Heroes in 2023. Now some of you may remember from last year where I released a farming plan called the Starkiller Rush, and I still to this day think that farming plan is very good, but it does have its limitations. For example, some of you commented on that video over the last year saying it's not really that refined, and it's true. The origin of that farming plan was I was having a conversation with a friend in a Discord chat, and they recommended I just uploaded it to YouTube, and somehow it went really well, and now I'm here today. So what I want to do this time around is I really want to lay it out and explain in more detail and kind of fill in the gaps. Now it's not going to be the same as last year, but it's going to be similar, and honestly I think this is the best plan you can do. I have watched all these other farming plans and they are all really good, guys, and I do a lot of roster reviews on this channel, and one thing I always say is always watch so many different content creators because it gives you a better understanding of the game. Everyone has their own way of looking at it. I look at the game and approach the game differently to someone else, for example. It doesn't mean my plan's wrong, it doesn't mean their plan's wrong, but each plan can then come together and form one. So I'd recommend you guys watch this video, and also I'd recommend you guys watch some other farming plans. I'll link some of them in the description below. And I would recommend that you then make a decision based on all of the knowledge you gain. So hopefully with that information, we can now jump into the video. So what I've done here is I've laid it out. So we've got on the left hand side, you can see we've got the pre-level 85, we've got the plan, and then we've got useful information. So we're going to start with the pre-level 85. One of the issues I had last year, and also the free-to-play, which because of IRL time constraints, I've really struggled to play as much as I would like. One of the issues I've encountered is that level 1 to 85 is just different to level 85 onwards. So what I've done is I've separated this plan, I've broken it down. So we have the 0 to 85, and then we have the 85 onwards, which is the plan itself. So really think of this as setting yourself up. Think of it as building the foundation for the later plan. So the first team is very common, guys. It's in most farming plans. Some don't include it, but most do, and it's Phoenix. Now, some of you may say it's a little bit outdated. I would agree Phoenix is kind of not the best anymore, but it's still worth going for because they're easily accessible. They're good in Galactic War. They're good in the mod challenges, so you can actually grow your roster that way, and they're just very accessible, like I said. So you're going to be taking these to around about gear 7, gear 8, and this is to unlock Palpatine, and this is to unlock Thrawn, both very key characters in this plan. The next characters we're going to be unlocking are actually just Jedi for Grandmaster Yoda. Now, you could put Bastila in here, and I would actually recommend you put Bastila in here, but I put Jedi Knight Anakin and I put Mace for other reasons, but Bastila would work really well in here, and it's really just up to you. If you go for Bastila, it will take a bit longer to get her up and running, because the idea is if you run Qui-Gon, he is a Scorderina farm. You then have Ahsoka as a Cantina farm. You then have Jedi Knight Anakin, who is just a hard node. Then you have Mace Windu. Actually, I think Jedi Knight Anakin is also a Cantina farm. Then you have Mace Windu, and he is a Scorderina farm. Then you have Ezra Bridger, and he's a Cantina farm. You could also do Kanan. Basically, you're just trying to get Grandmaster Yoda as quick as possible, because he will help in the early game, especially the early grand arenas. So that is the reason we're going for this. But if you want to add Bastila in, I would recommend it, because Bastila is a key part of the plan later on. Then we have the first team. Now, this is the first team that I would recommend you guys actually go and farm. Now, the idea here is this is going to be your first decent team. It's going to be your first team with relics. And you're not going to relic the whole team. You'll probably relic only one of the characters, but it's going to be your first really big team that you're farming. And a team is Palpatine, Thrawn, Vader, Piet, Mara Jade. Now, this team's very nice. It's actually underrated. On defense, for example, it's hard to beat. When you go into Carbonite, when you go into Bronzium, this is a team that, if modded correctly, it can hold. For example, it is low investment. Like I said, Thrawn you get given to you by doing Phoenix. Palpatine is given to you by doing Phoenix. Palpatine is easy to gear. Vader is one of the characters we're going to talk about later who you're just constantly farming. Piet, you don't need him 7 stars. Honestly, 3 to 5 stars is fine. If you want to 7-star him, use that level 0 to 85 to get it done. because then you come out the other end and it's perfect. Then we have Mara Jade, and Mara Jade is a key part of the farm, so you're going to want her up and running. But honestly, this team is good offense, defense. You can also split it for 3v3. Then we have the farm these to 3-star. Now, these characters are the characters who are maybe newer, maybe they're not accelerated, but these are characters you need unlocked, and they're key parts of the farms and the farming plan, but they're not actually required at high gear, high stars. So the first one we have is Aiden Versio. Now, Aiden Versio should be a 7-star, but 3 stars is fine. Zori Bliss, 3 stars is needed. Guys, we're not farming resistance in this plan, I'm going to let you know now, but she's used somewhere else, and she is so important for this farming plan. We then have Tuscan Chieftain. Now, I know he's not farmable as of posting this video, but when he does become farmable, a 3-star unlock. I'm not saying to 7-star these characters, I'm saying to 3-star them. And the last one is Seer. Seer, again, same thing as Tuscan Raider. You're not going to 7-star her, but you are going to 3-star her because she's an important part of the plan. Next, we have just a little bit of information on what you should be farming from the store before you go to level 85. And the characters I've listed are Savage, Mace, Logray, B2, and Darth Vader. Then I've also put you need to farm these characters. We have Grievous, Hermit Yoda, and Wampa. These are the Wampa and Hermit Yoda are just normal, they're staples. Everyone should be farming them early on. Maybe you spend your get one on gear, but I would recommend you do the characters first. I think most people would recommend that. It's all about short-term gain versus long-term gain. Yes, you might get your Galactic Legend, or you might get your Journey Guide character a couple of months earlier, right? Or a month earlier, or however long you decide. But how many months are you pushing back unlocking other characters? It's just not worth it. So for that reason, I would recommend you guys finish Wampa, finish Hermit Yoda. Grievous, always buy him from the store. You don't want to be buying him from the Shard store, Shard shop even. So you want to be buying him from the Fleet store whenever he appears there. I've broken it down into segments. So we're going to go through GP. Now, this is a rough estimate. You may be higher, you may be lower, but it's to kind of chapter this video a little bit. So to begin with, we've got 0 to 1 million GP. Now, remember, by this point, you already have these teams. I'm not including this in the farming plan because I'm assuming you've gone and farmed these anyway. So because of this, we need the 4 star killer requirements. Now, remember guys, I said I liked last year's plan. I'm going to refine it and define it a little bit better here. So we're going to be going for star killer again. I think he's a very accessible character. I'm now seeing a lot of rosters when I do roster reviews. I mean, we've done almost 150 rosters in the last 2 weeks for reviews, and I've noticed a lot of people low GP with star killer and they are wrecking Grand Arena. So these are the 4 characters you need. So we need to find out a way to build some teams that aren't too high investment, but bring out the best in the squad. So the first team we're going to be building is a Dash Smuggler team. Now, you don't need to build this team. Would I recommend it? Yes, 100%. And the reason you're going to be building a team like this is because it's pretty low investment. Dash is the only cryo heavy character in this team. We've covered this before last year, but we'll cover it again today. Young Han, honestly, worth investing in. I know we meme a lot and say Young Han's the best. I genuinely do believe in the early game for new players, he is extremely accessible. He's just a guild store unlock. You can get him done in a few days. And not just that, but he makes the mod challenges easy. He makes Galactic War easy. And he also does the Smuggler's Run event, which is really, really nice. Then we have Vandor Chewie, same sort of situation. He's worth farming. And then we have Young Lando and Kira. Honestly, these are the 2 where you could say, I don't want to do these. And you could replace these with IG and Quill. That would also work, guys. So don't think you have to follow this team for team, character for character. Remember, guys, you can change and adapt the plan to your needs. The next team we're going to be farming is a Mothma team. Now, you don't need this team at high relics. You need Mothma at gear 10, gear 9. You do need the Zetas, unfortunately. So she is a later team to farm. You then have Kara, you have Poe, you have Hoth Rebel Scout, and you have Kyle Katarn. Now, I'm almost in Kyber 1, guys, and I don't even have a full relic team. So this is proof you don't need this team at relics to perform. Honestly, you only really need Kyle relics and Kyrat relics. The rest, I'm not really going to sit here and say you have to do. It would be nice, but they're not needed. Also, the team is fairly accessible. Kyle's Cantina, Mothma is a hard node, Kara is a hard node, and these two are in the Cantina store. So they're reasonably accessible, okay? You don't need to worry too much about getting this team up and running. It will just kind of come to you. Next up, we have our first Sith team, and this is the team we're going to build for Talon, because last year I kind of just said, oh, Talon can just go somewhere, but now Talon's got a really good home, and that is Treya, Nala, Sion, Savage, Talon. Now, you don't need this entire team. The characters I'd recommend are Treya, Nihilus, and Talon, and in terms of the gear, I'd recommend you Relic Nihilus, Gear 12 Treya, ideally Relic, but short term, Nihilus is the key, guys, because Nihilus, when paired with Trey's Omicron, is going to be your gas killer, your GL killer. He's just going to be doing so much. If your opponent has Malgus, if your opponent has General Skywalker, if your opponent has some limited GLs, maybe Nihilus kills them. Obviously, Darkside, it doesn't activate anymore, but against those light side GLs, it still will. So against those really bad JMLs, you're going to be able to kill that team regardless. It's just a really, really nice team to farm. It doesn't need the most gear ever, but you should be working on this. And in terms of the farm itself, Talon you're doing anyway for Starkiller. She's also going to Relic. You would Zeta her. Omicron's not needed. Savage is a Squadron of Thor farm. He's an easy gear. Gear 12, Omicron. Don't worry about Relic for now, guys. Sion, he's a hard node. Nihilus, hard node. And Treya is a guild unlock. She's actually from the raid, so you're going to unlock her naturally. So I'm not saying you'll have this team straight away. This will probably come 3 or 4 months down the line. Just remember, guys, if you're in a good guild during the pre-level 85, when you get to level 85, you're maybe going to have Treya anyways. Right, so now you've got the 4 Starkiller characters, and you may be saying, where's Mara Jade? Remember, guys, she's in the pre-level 85 section of the video. So now you have Starkiller unlocked, but now we need to make a team for him, because we've got him unlocked, but what are we going to do? So this is the team that I'm going to recommend you guys unlock. Now, you'll remember I said Seer to 3 stars. This is why. Now, I said before, I'm not going to encourage people to farm Seer for Starkiller or Cal for Starkiller early on until we know the information. The information's now out there, and I'd recommend that a low gear Seer with the Zetas, you don't need them, but with the Zetas would be better than Visas. There's more of a threshold, and Seer then you can upgrade later on, and you can use her with the team in a different way. But this is what I'd recommend. I'd recommend Palpatine, who you get from the Phoenix farm, Mara Jade, who you've done for Starkiller himself, Juhani is key here, and Seer. Now, the reason we're going Juhani is just to save resources, so we can split the team between Territory War and GAC. Yes, the team won't perform as well in Grand Arena. You'll still be beating lots of teams. You may struggle every so often, but early game, this won't be an issue. But Territory War, you then have the team built up. You don't need Datacrons for this team to work. You don't really need many Omicrons for this team to work. You only need 1 on Starkiller and possibly 1 on Juhani in Territory War. But the team is really, really nice. You can also then opt to Omicron Mara Jade, but I'm not going to recommend it early on. What I would say, if you have Omicron spare, do it during a pre-level 85. If not, save for Starkiller, save for Juhani. It's better investment in that sense. So that is the initial team. So this is what you're going to have done before you hit 1.5 million GP. You could probably have this done earlier, but this is just a general framework. And in terms of time to get here, you're probably looking at around about 6, 7 or 8 months, right? From level 0 to level 85. If you're already level 85 and you decide to follow this, or if you do the Hyperdrive bundle and you're deciding to follow this, maybe even 3 or 4 months. The early game takes a little bit longer to get going, but once you get going, everything else will speed up. There's one more team, guys, in this first section of the farming plan, and that is Geos. Now, I'm going to sit here and say first, guys, do not make the mistake. The mistake is going into an ROTE guild when you're really, really low GP. The reason I'm going to say this is because for 99% of you, it's going to lock you out of JMK. Now, JMK isn't necessarily going to be in the plan. I'm not going to say this yet, but if you want to go for him, or if you want to adapt this plan or adapt your plan, you need a 7-star Wat Tambor. So you need to be in a Wat Tambor ready guild from a very, very early point in the game if you want to have JMK anytime in the first 2 years of playing. So for this reason, Geos are worth investing in. Take them to Gear 12. You can check out my video. I'll link it in the description that has my guide on how to beat the Wat Tambor mission and never fail. And you're going to be Omicron in Poggle. This is a very key Omicron, guys. This is going to make your guild very, very happy. This Omicron is amazing. And this team is really good. It will work on defense. It will work on cleanup. It will work on offense. Yes, it gets killed by Traya. Yes, it gets killed by Vader. But you can work around this. And early game is still going to be a staple for you. Then we have the 1 to 1.5 million section of this video. And we're going to be covering different teams. Now, a lot of these stay at low gear, but you're going to be farming them for later gains. Now, the idea here is we want to maximize efficiency, and something which I don't see talked about enough is how important the assault battles are in this game. So if we were to take a look at what assault battles there are, we have assault battles for Tuskens, Inquisitors, Ewoks and Jedi. We then have assault battles for clones, Empire, Sith, Imperial Troopers. There's lots of different ones. Now, obviously, it makes the most sense to Imperial Troopers because they can be used in multiple ones. And I don't actually have them listed here, but I do recommend you guys farm Iden. I didn't really put Iden in a farming tier list. I just think she should be done at some point around here. She's just something you should be working on naturally. These are like the milestone teams you work on. But Iden should be done early. Like I said earlier, a 3-star Honor minimum, 7-star will be really, really nice. So Tuskens. Guys, you don't need this at high stars. Tusken Chieftain, take him to 3 stars. Then you're going to take the rest of the team to 7. Tusken Warrior, again, you can leave him at 3 stars. It doesn't really make much of a difference. But this team shoots up. It's easy to gear. Urura, Tusken Raider, Tusken Shaman, easy gears. You could gear 12 of these with no issues at all. These two are a little bit harder, but they don't need crazy high gear. And this team shoots up. This team is going to be dominating in Grand Arena and Territory War. You're going to be beating any team that gains turn meter. You're going to be causing so many issues. Mothma teams, Iden teams, Dash teams, any of those teams, and this is just going to shoot up. And the best thing is, guys, it may not be good banners, but you could do Tusken Chieftain with Tusken Raider or Tusken Shaman. You could take these 3 to gear 12. The rest you can keep it like low gear. And then you could just let these 2 die. But the leader ability still comes into play. The stuns still come into play. The amount of defense you gain from the momentum comes into play. And you'll still be beating big teams, relic teams. This is a great team to invest in. The next team we're going to be investing is Inquisitors. Now, you are going to be starring these up. They are early nodes, guys, so don't panic. We're not going to be taking them to Relic or anything yet, but I want you to prepare the team in preparation. They're early nodes, so there's no reason why you couldn't even be working on these in the level 85 section of the plan, but just make sure they're 7 stars. Now, 5th Brother is Cantina, the rest are hard node, but it's not too hard to get them up and running, and you're going to want to go to Gear 9. And at Gear 9, you can beat Challenge Tier 1 of the Assault Battle. That is an extra 10 of each Cryotek each month. So over 10 months, that is 1 relic given to you, or possibly even 2. If you're Gear 12 in characters, for example, these 2 Tuskens are now going to relic because you got the Cryotek given to you by the Assault Battles. So for this reason, it's a no-brainer to really, really work hard on winning these assault battles every time they come around. So for this reason, Gear 9, your Inquisitors. Then we've got our first Grand Arena focused team, Bad Batch. Again, this team, you don't need high stars. I would recommend you 7-star them, but I understand some of you don't have the time or the resources. So this is a team you can take to 3 stars, Gear 7, and as long as you mod them correctly with Echo being the fastest, and you can get him fast at 3 stars, this is going to be a team that will be beating a lot on offense. Grievous teams in Grand Arena, Grievous teams at the Droidica Omicron in Territory War. Any teams like that, Tusken teams when you start seeing them, Bad Batch is your answer, and they do work at low gear, which is amazing. Now, the first Journey Guard character that I'm going to recommend other than Starkiller is actually going to be Jedi Knight Revan. So we're going to be working on Jedi Knight Revan here. We're going to get him up and running early. What you'll notice is we went Juhani earlier on. And the benefit of going for Juhani earlier on is that we're already 1 step of the way to Malak. And Malak, as you can see here, is the end goal. So the idea is you've already got Starkiller, you've already got a couple of extra teams, you've already got Geos, you've got, your Starkiller farm teams as well. They don't all need to be at Relic. The gear levels can change and adapt. And guys, if you want any more specific information, you can always drop me a message on Discord, and I'm more than happy to help with the individual gearing of teams and characters, because it is very dependent on you. Do you spend money? Are you free to play? How do you approach the game? That will impact how much you're gearing certain teams early on. So like I said, we're at the point where you're going for Generate Revenue, and then we're going for DR. And again, you don't need high gear. I would recommend, honestly, the top team, I wouldn't recommend you Relic any of these. Gear 12 is fine. This one, Relic Bastila is really nice. Everyone else, Gear 12. Maybe Juhani will be Relic for your Starkiller team, but Gear 12 is fine as well. I'm in a 400 million GP guild, and there's people wrecking Territory War with a Gear 12 Juhani. So you don't need the Relic. It helps, but you don't need it. Then we have Darth Malik. He is the end goal. And this fits in with what we were saying. What do you get from doing this? Well, one, you get one of the best solo characters in the game. You get a really strong defensive team, a really strong offensive team. You then get an extra team in the Old Republic, which you can use somewhere else. And now your Jedi team is filled out. And you're going to see here, guys, that we actually get this team. Now, this team is going to be winning Assault Battle, so you can now do the Jedi Assault Battle. And not to mention, you can now do the Sith Assault Battle. You can use Palpatine, Mara Jade, you can also use Talon, and then you can put in Bastila Shan Fallen and Malik, and that is going to be clearing the Sith one. So now, all of a sudden, you're clearing 3 of the Assault Battles. So now you've gone from 10 of each Cryotech a month to 30 of each Cryotech a month. Guys, do you see the difference? And this is going to add up and add up and add up. And it may seem really small, it may seem insignificant, but long term, in a year, in 2 years, the benefits are going to be so huge because it's just passive income. Right, so moving on, we now have the 1.5 to 2 million GP range, and this is when we really transition into the meat of the farming guide. We've done all the setting up, we've got Starkiller unlocked, we've got Malik unlocked, we're now at the point where we need to go and learn a lot and develop our roster and get to a point where we unlock the next massive character. And I would argue this is the first huge character we're going to unlock in this farming plan. So to begin with, we're going to be doing Ewoks. Now, you remember, guys, I actually said to you, you need to be farming low grade from the store. Don't ignore this advice. Make sure you've been farming low grade. Make sure he's 7-star early on, because otherwise this part of the farming plan will take longer than it should, because low grade doesn't show up every time the store refreshes. It's very random. So it may take you a couple months, and that's fine. But then you're going to be farming the Ewoks. And the reason being, you want C-3PO. Then we've got this team here, and we've got the Padme team. Now, I actually put General Anakin in here. I said Gas P2. This is obviously incorrect. You need C-3PO, not Anakin. But you're going to be farming Anakin for Qui-Gon, which is why I put him in here, because it's self-explanatory that you get C-3PO this way. So don't worry about that. Then we've got Gas P4, and all of a sudden, things start to come together. We've now gone from a few low-gear teams, a few random teams made from Starkiller, and now we're ending up with a really cohesive roster. And if you've really been focusing in and building this roster like I'm describing here, you're going to have an insane account. You're going to have Generate Revan, Darth Revan, Malik, Starkiller. You're then going to have a Separatist GG team. You're going to have part of a clone team. You're going to have a Padme team. You're going to have so many different teams. Obviously, they're not all going to be at Relic. And I understand that some may be at Relic. The way I would recommend it, and I said before, is I'd recommend you pick 1 or 2 characters and Relic them for each team. For example, the Padme team, Relic Anakin, Relic Kenobi. And then you can kind of go from there. Then we have, obviously, the Separatists come in. And now, after that, you unlock Gas. Now, when you unlock Gas, you go back and you take the clones all to Relic. This is going to be the first real team where you Relic every single character, and you take them all to high Relics. I'm saying Relic 5 on Rex, Relic 7 on everyone else. Honestly, guys, this is very, very important. So now we're at the section where you've just unlocked General Skywalker, and you're in a really, really nice spot. So let's just work out what you would do between 2 million and 2.5 million GP. Well, the first thing is we would finish off the Droideka team. You'd Omicron the team. So for this, I would recommend that you guys Relic Grievous, Relic Droideka, and to do the event, you've probably Relic B1. Now, if you want to go to the next level, leave these at like relic 5, take Grievous to relic 7, and take Droideka to relic 7. Because if you have the Omicron, if Droideka's the strongest ally, Grievous will mark him, and if Droideka dies, he will revive everyone, right? Which is really, really beneficial to you, because obviously they're going to most likely be marking down B2 or B1, and then all of a sudden Droideka revives them. So this is a really nice team that's basically given to you. And now we get into our first Galactic Legend farm. Now, guys, I know some of you may not like this. I understand. But I'll give you my reasoning. And just remember, you don't have to do this. You can go a different route if you would like. So what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to follow a general progression. What you'll notice is a lot of the teams we've been farming early on are all leading to this one end goal. We've got Tuskens. Remember, guys, Tusken Raider is needed for Lord Vader. We've already, up here, we've got ourselves the General Grievous team. And they, Separatists are needed for him as well, so we can use that there. And now we're going to work on Bounty Hunters. Now, don't think we're going to go straight to Lord Vader, because that's not the point of this plan. There's still more to go before we get there. So what we're going to be working on is the Embo and Zam. So we're going to be working on some Bounty Hunters. Now, this will also unlock you Chewbacca. So if you wanted to do this and then go into Executor and then CLS, you can. That is an option. But we're going to be unlocking Zam, Mando, Greef, Embo, and Bosk. Then I would recommend you guys that you actually go ahead and you unlock Fennec. And you put Fennec as an extra character you do her here. Because then you could run Fennec, Zam, Greef, Bosk, and you're going to be winning against Lord Vader yourself. It is very mod dependent, and the thing is, you can set certain teams that do crush the Fennec counter. It's a complicated topic for sure, but there's more reasons, and we'll explain it as we go along. So then we farm Newt and Dooku. I put Django in here just because he's nice to have. You don't need to farm him. It's really just these two. The only problem is there's not really anywhere to use them unless you go for Django. But you can then use a Sarge you did for Gas. You can then use his team, and this is a decent backward team. Separatist team. It works in TB as well, because a Sergeant Dooku is needed for Darkside Geo, for example. Then we have the 3 to 4 million GP. So now by this point, you have farmed a lot of characters. You have General Skywalker, you have the Clones, you have Bad Batch, you have Tuskens, you have so many teams. So now you finally go ahead and you finish the Lord Vader farm. Now, you're probably going to be doing this at around about 3.5 million. It may take you about a year and a half. That's what I'd recommend. I've seen someone do this free to play, and it took them about 14 months. And it's similar to the plan we're talking about here, but not as refined. So we're going to end up unlocking Lord Vader and Royal Guard. And Royal Guard you need for this team. In terms of relics, obviously relic 7. And you're going to have a decent team here. Now remember, guys, you do have the Inquisitors. You may decide at this point that you want to take a couple of them up to supplement your Lord Vader team. I would recommend you do that because you're going to need them at relic later on for the plan anyways. So now you do the exec, and this is where I want to jump in and say, guys, you can flip this part of the video. If you would rather do exec before Lord Vader, you can. I put exec afterwards, and I'll explain why in a second. But if you want to do exec before you do this, that is perfectly fine. Basically, the main part is I would recommend you get to this point first. After this point, it's up to your interpretation, up to what you want to do. If you want to go for Lord Vader, you go for Lord Vader. If you want to go for exec, you go for exec. So now we farm exec, and I've actually put Fennec in here. I've already recommended you farm Fennec earlier, but you're then going to have, your counters there as well. And now we're kind of at 3 million to 4 million GP, and now we need to focus on Conquest. We need to make sure that we're clearing Conquest. Hard mode Conquest is coming. Proving Grounds is coming. We need a way to clear this, otherwise we're going to get screwed. So let's just work out what teams we have from what we've farmed. Because guys, we've been planning ahead. We've been thinking and we've been researching, and you guys have been looking at Proving Grounds videos, maybe on my channel, who knows. And all of a sudden, Proving Grounds hits, hard mode Conquest hits. We want to be getting a decent result in this game mode. We don't like the game mode. I don't like the game mode. You probably don't like the game mode unless you're a certain viewer who apparently loves it. And we want to make sure we're doing well in it. So Sith Empire comes back. This is a good Conquest team. Jedi, this can work. It's not the best team, but it can work, right? We then have Beskar, Mando, Han, Chewie. Well, Han will be given to you from the raids. Chewie, we've got more than enough bounty hunters to finish that event. We didn't go CLS, that's fine, we can do him later, but Beskar, Mando we've got from Executor. So this is a team we can use. And this is a very, very strong team because you can stack the dots that you get from data disks with Beskar Mando's Whistling Birds, and it just kills basically any team you want. Then we have Dash Render. Guys, you literally put on the data disk that increases your damage based on max health, and Dash will just one-shot any team in the game. We then have Proving Grounds. Now remember, guys, I said to work on Trey and Nihilus. We've also worked on Malik. So not only does this work for the assault battles, this is also going to make your life so easy for Proving Grounds. Now, this is more important if you decided to skip the Lord Vader section. Remember, guys, you don't have to do every section of this farming plan. Remember, guys, we wanted What Tambor. That's why we're going into a Geo guild. We're not going to ROTE. We're not even going to attempt to look for one of those guilds because we want What Tambor at Relic. So we're aiming to have him at Relic by 4 million GP because he's so crucial in a lot of teams. Then I've kind of listed what would come next. Now, I could sit here for hours. This video is already half an hour long, and I could tell you what to do next, but I want to leave this up to you guys. In my mind, the next progression would be JML or Jabba. I think that would be a really nice progression for this account. And then at some point, Inquisitors, you can do this whenever you feel like. I would recommend you do it earlier on, maybe around about the 3 to 4 million GP range. But it just depends. If your guild's doing ROTE, you're in an ROTE guild, you just have to do them earlier. But by doing Lord Vader, you may have some of the Inquisitors done. You may decide to run Lord Vader, Royal Guards, 7th Sister, 9th Sister, and even 2nd. And then this team here is going to be really nice. Now, there's going to be some questions here, guys. One, some of you are going to be saying, why did you recommend Exec after Lord Vader? Because you're not going to be doing well in Squad Arena, or Fleet Arena, sorry. Well, that's not true. Because I haven't told you guys what ships we're going to be farming. Now, unfortunately, I can't make ship tabs. You just have to listen to me just describe different ships. So, guys, do you remember me saying Iden? Well, Iden's ship is a key part of the farming plan. This is the first ship you're going to be farming. So you're going to be farming Iden's ship. You're going to be farming Iden. Now, let me tell you guys, Gear 11 Iden with her ship is an executor counter. Now, I unfortunately haven't really pulled it off myself in Grand Arena. I'm a little bit out of practice, but I know it's out there. I know a lot of people are doing it, and it does work very well. So this is a executor counter. Empire also beats Radis, or the Profundity, should I say. So by farming Empire first, you're going to be dominating fleets. This is going to be an offensive fleet, but if they set exec, you win. If they set Profundity, you win. Now, if they set both, this is where the next fleet comes in. Remember, guys, with farm geos, your first fleet is actually going to be Malevolence. Now, you may be saying, but Glomit, what are you doing? We're doing gas, negotiator, come on. No, listen to me. Mace Windu, you're farming, you're going to use his ship. You can still do gas P1. Malevolence is more important here, and the reason being Malevolence can really shoot up. With Gear 12 Geos, with Relic Geos, if you decide to go that route, that's going to be your Profundity counter long term. So you're going to be using Empire on the Executor, and then you're going to be using Malevolence on the Profundity. Remember, guys, you're not even going to be facing this scenario for a long time. So most likely you're only going to be fighting one of them, and then you can go down that route. But this is your first big fleet. Your second fleet is actually going to be Rebels. And then obviously bounty hunters will come, and then that's exec. You don't need too many fleets early game. You only need 1 or 2 really good ones. And the thing is, if you look at the characters we've been farming in the squad plan, a lot of what we've been farming is Empire. And the reason being, it's going to boost your Empire fleet. So Tarkin would be going to high relics for Lord Vader. That's the fleet commander. Thrawn, we've been farming early on. That's the fleet commander. We've been farming Palpatine. Again, I'm not going to say it. You know, you get the point, guys. A lot of the characters are needed for fleets. And it's the reason why I said it's so important that you farm this team here, the Treya team, because you need the TIE Interceptor. Thankfully, it's only a 145 unlock. So even without refreshes, and let me just bring up a calculator here. So even if you don't refresh, you're looking at a minimum 7.5 months. Now, if you can afford to do 1 refresh a month, you can get TIE Interceptor in 3 months from 4 million GP. When you get that, the Empire fleet's insane. So this is what I'm trying to say, guys. You can mix this up. You could go for exec before Lord Vader. You could even just ignore Lord Vader. I think in terms of general progression of the account, it makes the most sense. You're coming out of this with a lot. Now, unlike last year where I said this is the best Grand Arena account, this, I'm going to be honest, you will lose in Grand Arena sometimes, you will win sometimes. When you get Lord Vader, when you get exec, you're going to be in a very good spot. But unfortunately, Grand Arena, the matchmaking and all of that stuff, the more you look at it, the harder it is to accelerate and excel in that area. So the idea here is to build just a really, really well-rounded roster. This is one that will help you good in territory war, territory battles, raids, every part of the game. And honestly, I think it's a very, very nice roster. You would get a very, very good roster at the end of this. And let me know what you think. So now let's look at the useful information. So we have the first status. I'm not going to list every status you should do. These are just the first ones that I'm likely going to apply. If you're wondering, the free-to-play I have is still not level 85. I just don't have the time to play it all the time. But when it gets level 85, I'm going to transition to this plan instead. It is very similar to last year, so not too bad. Then we have the Omicrons, Dash, Starkiller, Droidica, Poggle, Marajay. These are the first ones you apply. Qui-Gon comes later. Then we have the extra ones. We have Savage and Treyarch. These come when you get them up and running. What you'll realize is early game, you will have too many Omicrons to apply. Just make sure you save them. Don't apply them to Chirpa. Save them for these characters. Then we have Guild Store farms. So we have Younghan, Dengar, low-grade Jin. Jin isn't in the plan, but just farm her because you may decide to go Profundity and the Guild Store is the only way to get her. Then we have the Squad Arena Star, Savage, IG, Mace, Gram of Tarkin. These are the priority farms. Then we have the Guild Event Store. These are the priority farms. And then we have the Fleet Store, and these are the priority farms. Guys, I hope this video has been somewhat useful. Like I said, you don't have to follow this step for step, team for team. But hopefully, by using these teams, by using this advice, you help develop your account. Guys, just remember, I look at so many accounts. I look at hundreds of accounts when I do roster reviews. I know what you guys have. I know what you're likely facing. And this is what I've come up with. And I think this is the best farming plan for 2023. Thank you all for watching. My name is Glamit, and I hope you all have a glamming day.